Hello? All right, I'm here in my backyard with my dog. There's a plane overhead. Birds are chirping. The cicadas seem to be silent. I figured the ambient noise of the backyard would be more interesting than the silence of my basement or my home office. So here we go. This will be podcast episode 0, the pilot episode of the Gwadzilla Podcast, where I try and answer the question, who is Gwadzilla and what is to be expected of the Gwadzilla Podcast? Here we go. The Gwadzilla Podcast, or is it the Gwadzilla Hour? Maybe it is just Gwadzilla. Still trying to sort these things out. Everything is subject to change. All this technology is new to me. I will have to learn it as I go along. This is a pilot episode to try and give people an idea of who I am and what to expect from this yet-to-be-named Gwadzilla Podcast. First, who is Gwadzilla? I am Gwadzilla. Gwadzilla is Joel Gwadz. I am Joel Gwadz. I'm a longtime cyclist and a one-time blogger. For roughly 20 years, I was a keeper of the Gwadzilla blog. The Gwadzilla blog was an outlet for my ideas and my opinions. I shared stories of my various cycling adventures and photos of cyclists that passed in front of my camera. The blog would bounce in various directions. Not only did I talk about bikes and the local bike scene, I drifted into various topics on DC culture, and then also stories about my kids or my dog. I blogged about whatever was interesting to me. I tried not to be political, and I will try not to be political here. But as I said, I shared ideas and opinions. It is hard not to have an opinion on the world today, especially when you live in a town like Washington, D.C., where local news is often world news. Whatever came to my mind when my fingers were at the keyboard, that is what I blogged about. The podcast is going to be the Gwadzilla blog gone audio video. Similar but different, same energy, new format. Not only will you hear my rants, but will you hear the perspective of my various guests. In many cases, it will not be about me. The podcast will be about the person who I am interviewing. We will be wanting to hear their story. It will be my effort to engage the guests such that they tell an interesting and informative story. Who am I and how did I get here? I grew up in a time before cell phones. As a child, I enjoyed the bike. Perhaps some of it was imprinting, as my father was a bicycle commuter. In the late 70s, as us cooler kids were hanging out doing tricks on their BMX bikes, I was out delivering the Washington Star on my Raleigh Sturmey Archer 3-speed with its Mary Poppins handlebars. Then, in that same era, for recreational rides, I had a slightly nicer but still low-end Raleigh road bike with drop bars. It was the Grand Sport, not even the Grand Prix. It was that Raleigh road bike, with its white frame and red stickers, that took me to the C&O Canal for my Tom Sawyer Huck Finn adventures. There was a group of us from the neighborhood who would team up for these rides. We would ride down to different sections of the C&O Canal. Old Anglers Inn with wide water and the Billy Goat Trail was a preferred destination. We would fish, hike, catch snakes, skip stones, and swim. We would run on the trails, scramble on the rocks, and climb the trees. It was basic kid stuff. In high school, the combination of a driver's license and social pressure put bikes on the back burner. I would occasionally ride my bike to school, but there seemed to be a negative stigma attached to riding a bike, so I did not ride to school often. By senior year, I discovered a few of my friends were also into bikes. They were not racers, but they rode in that classic road style. Black shorts with chamois pad, maybe shaved legs. And there wasn't yet the pedal technology, so it was pedals locked in with toe straps and clips. And no helmets. Helmets are not normally worn at this time. We did some long rides together, and it was then that I learned about the section of Rock Creek Park that is closed to traffic on weekends. Then in the summer after high school in 1985, a bunch of us got mountain bikes. I got a chrome Mongoose ATB. My friends got some slightly nicer bikes, a Cannondale and a Specialized, are names that come to mind. Yes, I went mountain biking on that low-end Mongoose mountain bike with its rigid fork and friction thumb shifters. I also used that same bike at my first messenger job. Yes, I worked as a bike messenger. I started working as a bike messenger in college. 18 years old, in 1986, I started at Apple Courier at 1815 H Street. My buddy Lawrence McDonald got me the job, telling me the answers to some of the questions I would be asked in that informal interview. I was hired. I started immediately. I was on my own, no training, no maps, just given an assignment that I wrote on my manifest, and I was off, guessing my way around the city, learning as I went along. This was a time before smartphones with GPS navigation. We had to just figure it out. Learn the city layout. Understand the relationship between the number and letter streets. I had to memorize the clients for Apple Couriers. I had to get to know all the federal buildings on and off Capitol Hill. I may have had to call base because I confused Chamber of Commerce and Department of Commerce, but eventually I figured it out. The job was a rush. It was like a video game, racing around city traffic, splitting lanes, rushing through intersections, buzzing pedestrians, wrong way on one-way streets, picking up and delivering, in and out all these historic buildings. Each week I fought to be the top earner, not by showing up early or staying late, but by riding fast and efficient. There was a lot of red light running. There were some foolish, unnecessary risks. There was a time when I got so many tickets on my bicycle that they suspended my car driver's license. It was commission, and I thought that I had to ride that way to achieve my goal. Youth. Youth and its sense of immortality. I felt like Superman racing the train. More jobs meant more money. 12 jobs by noon, and ideally 40 runs by the end of the day, could normally get me to that $100 day. I was always trying to crack that $100 day. And I was always fighting to be top dog at my company. Okay, enough of the flashbacks to my first days as a bike messenger. Those days as a college courier, working summers and winters, are not really the topic of the podcast. This is about the guests, not the host. This podcast aims to collect an oral history of DC bicycle messengers past and present. Their stories, not mine. And there are stories to tell. I'm going to try and record them and share them. But before these stories, in each interview, there will need to collect some basic statistics and some basic intel. Name, where are you from? When did you start as a bike messenger? How old were you when you started as a bike messenger? What was your first messenger company? How did you get hooked up with the job? What are some of your first memories? Did anyone train you? And how long did you work as a messenger? Each podcast with a messenger will start with the same basic format, and then the stories. The stories and maybe some questions along the way. Name, rank, and serial number, nickname or no nickname, this will help to paint the picture. It will frame the time and give a measure of credibility. Bikes and bicycle culture have always fascinated me. On trips to Connecticut, at Thanksgiving time, I recall driving through Manhattan and seeing bike messengers whipping through traffic. Once I witnessed a man on a bike bounce a whistle on a string off his chest, catching that whistle in his mouth and then alerting pedestrians and car traffic around him. The culture and the people, it has intrigued me. It intrigued me then and it intrigues me now. In college, I did an independent study where I wrote a sociology paper about the work culture of the bicycle messenger. I got a full course credit for it. Such a sociology paper would be called Participant Observation. I was not much of a student and it was not much of a paper, but that was something that did happen. After college, I did some traveling, living in California and also Colorado. Later returning to Washington, D.C., where I would eventually start working as an IT specialist at CBS News, where I had once been a motorcycle courier. When working as a computer guy at CBS News, there was the advent of the digital camera. It was then when I started the Gwadzilla blog and started to take photos of cyclists, including, but not limited to, bike messengers. I had previously dabbled in black and white film photography, and I had spent a little time in the darkroom. I shot a bunch of really bad photographs. When digital cameras came along, the low cost of each push of the shutter button really appealed to me and my ability to take lots of really bad photographs. My blog became popular. There were articles and interviews in London, Portland, and of course Washington, D.C. I ride to and from work with the camera around my neck, snapping photos of cyclists alongside me or coming towards me. Sometimes riding ahead and pausing on the side of the road to capture a shot of the approaching cyclist. I posted these images each day after work when I got home. When I stepped out for lunch, I would take a lap around the block with the camera on my neck, pausing for a few minutes where I expected bike messengers and other cyclists to pass. Like a fisherman going to a favorite fishing spot, I throw out my line and wait for the fish to take the hook. Some days more bikes than others pass in front of the camera. There were days when the SD card went home empty. This camera around the neck behavior continued after I left CBS News and started work at the Smithsonian Institution. This gave me a different backdrop to my photos of cyclists in Washington, D.C. Those photos that were shared on the blog became part of the recent self-published 5-book series, Gwadzilla Presents 20 Years of Bicycle Messengers in Washington, D.C. A little bit more about me. I like bikes. I like riding bikes. I like riding different types of bikes in different types of situations. Cross-country mountain biking may be my favorite discipline. I raced cross-country mountain bikes for a number of years. Urban riding, with a focus on alley cats, is right up there with cross-country mountain biking, both racing and hosting alley cats. What is an alley cat? An alley cat is a bike messenger race, but really, that's another podcast to come. We'll discuss it then. Although I have never done any road racing, I did race cyclocross for a number of years, and I have enjoyed racing the local garage races each winter. In addition to commuting and local racing, I have enjoyed doing some touring. In the years before kids, I went to Europe, where I pedaled in Holland, Belgium, and France. When I went to Peru for a month, I took my bike there. I have also toured locally. I've ridden my bike to St. Mary's College of Maryland several times. I rode my bike to the beaches of Ocean City. And I have done the C&O Canal from Cumberland to Washington, D.C. several times. I completed that ride in 3 days, 2 days, and even 1 day. One miserably long, slow day of riding in the rain on soft gravel. So what will this podcast be? As said, the not yet officially named Gwadzilla Podcast will be similar to the Gwadzilla blog. It will be centered around bicycles and bicycle culture. I received a grant from Humanities DC to start a podcast that interviews bicycle messengers past and present. So yes, this podcast will primarily be about DC bike messengers and messenger culture. I will try and have all sorts of guests. Not only will we speak with people remotely over Zoom calls, but I have purchased an Insta360 X5 camera and a Rode Wireless Pro microphone system so that I can do these interviews mobile. The Insta360 shoots in a drone-like fashion, and ideally I can ride alongside these people and carry on the conversations as we move about the city, thus causing the podcast to be interesting to watch as well as listen to. In addition to these episodes where I interview messengers past and present, we'll have episodes about DC culture, art and music. DC is a rich music scene. Expect some episodes where DC punk is discussed. I already have raw footage from a punk show from a few weeks back where I interviewed a few ex-messengers out front the show, then filmed the band Swizz, whose lead singer Sean Brown was a longtime bike messenger. So many of the episodes will be a mashup of cultures and ideas. We will see. We will see how it develops. We will see how the interviews turn out. The format will be audio video. Sorry if I got a little confused there. I'm a bit of an extrovert. It's hard for me to go by the script. Throughout the whole time as reading this, I fought to go off script. I think I speak better just speaking without a script, but I don't think I could have done that for this full duration. I tried to record this with bullet points, but that didn't work. But that's it. That's the basic idea. That's the show. That's where we're headed. This is episode 0, a very raw episode 0. This will be a process, a developing process, a process that is very new to me. All this technology is new to me. I am learning how to record, I am learning how to film, and I'm still struggling to learn how to edit. This is DIY on a shoestring budget. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, And thanks to Humanities DC for the grant to get this project started. Visit us again for future episodes, and feel free to visit the Gwadzilla archive at gwadzilla.blogspot.com. And you can see the Gwadzilla Presents book series at blurb.com. You can see the Gwadzilla profile simply by Googling my name, Joel Gwadz, and Blurb, and then search from there. Appreciate your time, appreciate your interest, expect things to become a little more fast and a little more fluid. Ideally, I'll be hammering out episodes in the weeks to come. Thank you and goodbye.